You might know Ernest Borgnine as one of Hollywood's most beloved and versatile actors, but behind the scenes, there was one co-star he could never forgive. That's right, the co-star Ernest Borgnine could never forgive, you won't believe who. Today, we're diving deep into the shocking story behind this lifelong grudge, uncovering the hidden tensions, rumors, and moments that turned two legends into rivals. Trust me, this isn't your typical Hollywood feud. It's much darker, and the truth might surprise you. Ernest Borgnine, a name that immediately brings to mind rugged charm, unforgettable performances, and a career that spanned over 6 decades in Hollywood. But behind that warm smile and the easygoing demeanor, there was a side of Borgnine many never saw, a side marked by deep grudges and unresolved tensions. You might know him as a lovable but tough guy from McHale's Navy or the Oscar-winning star Marty. But did you ever wonder which co-star he never quite forgave? The answer might surprise you. It's a story buried in Hollywood lore, whispered in interviews, hinted at in behind-the-scenes tales. It's the kind of story that reveals how even legends can have complicated, messy relationships. Imagine two giants of classic cinema clashing so badly that it left a permanent rift. Years of silence, unspoken words, and cold shoulders at events where they crossed paths. This isn't just a tale of a simple disagreement or a fleeting argument. It's a long-lasting feud that shaped part of Borgnine's life and career in ways few people knew about. Today, we're diving deep into this hidden chapter. Who was the co-star Borgnine never forgave? What sparked the bitterness that lasted decades? And what does this feud tell us about the man behind the screen? This isn't just gossip. It's a glimpse into the complexity of Hollywood relationships, where talent meets egos and past conflicts never quite fade away. But first, let's take a quick look at Ernest Borgnine's remarkable career and what made him such a respected figure in the industry. Only then can we truly understand the weight of this grudge and why it left such a lasting scar. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll not only know the name of the co-star involved, but also get a sense of the tension and drama that played out behind the scenes. And trust me, it's not the kind of Hollywood story you hear every day. So who is it? Well, that's what we'll uncover piece by piece. But one thing's for sure, this feud is far from the usual Hollywood squabble. It's a tangled story of pride, anger, and mystery, one that helped shape Ernest Borgnine's legacy in a way most fans never expected. Ernest Borgnine's career is one for the history books. He wasn't just another actor in Hollywood's golden era. He was a force. Over 6 decades, he starred in over 200 movies and TV shows, earning respect for his versatility and down-to-earth personality. From the humble, sweet Marty Paletti in Marty, for which he won an Oscar, to the gruff but lovable Lieutenant Commander Quentin McHale in McHale's Navy, Borgnine carved out a unique space as a man who could play both hero and villain with equal skill. But what truly set Borgnine apart was not just his talent. It was his genuine, sometimes blunt, approach to the business and the people around him. Hollywood could be a place full of pretenders and egos, but Borgnine's charm was a mix of old-school toughness and unexpected warmth. He was known to be approachable, often cracking jokes on set, but he could also be fiercely protective of his work and his principles. This mix of warmth and steel sometimes made for complicated relationships. Borgnine was no stranger to standing his ground, and that occasionally meant clashing with others who challenged him or crossed lines he considered unacceptable. While many remember him as an affable personality, there were those moments where his stubborn streak came out, and that's where some of the tension began to brew with certain colleagues. He was a man who demanded respect and expected professionalism. That might sound like standard fare for any actor, but with Borgnine, it came with a no-nonsense attitude that didn't always sit well with everyone. Behind the scenes, there were moments of friction, especially when egos collided or creative differences surfaced. In fact, some industry insiders believe his legendary temper, while mostly controlled, could flare when provoked, turning otherwise simple disagreements into lasting grudges. Despite this, Borgnine's reputation remained largely positive. He was often described as one of the good guys in Hollywood, genuine, hardworking, and a mentor to many younger actors. But even the most beloved stars have their secrets, and Borgnine's story was no exception. Beneath the surface of his approachable exterior lay the kind of intensity and pride that could fuel bitterness. especially when it involved people he worked closely with. His career also included working with some of the biggest names of his time. He wasn't just sharing screen time. He was competing for respect and space in an industry that didn't hold back. And it was in this competitive, pressure-packed environment that one particular relationship took a dark turn, a relationship that would haunt Borgnine for years. But that's jumping ahead. Before we get there, it's important to remember that Borgnine was a man of contrasts, warm yet tough, charming yet unyielding. Understanding that dual nature helps explain why the grudge he held wasn't just a fleeting annoyance. It was something deeper, more personal. It was 1973 when Ernest Borgnine and Lee Marvin found themselves face-to-face on the set of Emperor of the North, a gritty Depression-era drama about a brutal train conductor and a rebellious drifter. On screen, the two men gave powerhouse performances. Borgnine as a violent, no-nonsense Shaq, and Marvin as the cocky, freedom-seeking hobo -1. But behind the scenes, something was simmering. And according to insiders, that's where the real tension began. Emperor of the North wasn't just another movie. It was physically demanding, emotionally intense, and filled with raw, unfiltered conflict. The characters hated each other, and by some accounts, so did the actors. Crew members have described the atmosphere on set as icy, with little interaction between Borgnine and Marvin once the cameras stopped rolling. The two men reportedly kept their distance, and when they did speak, it was often clipped or strictly professional. So what happened? Some say the tension stemmed from clashing egos. Marvin, known for his wild off-screen antics and rebellious energy, often worked loose and improvisational. Borgnine, on the other hand, was a disciplined military-trained actor who valued structure and respect. That difference in approach may have rubbed both men the wrong way. The contrast wasn't just professional, it was personal. They were built from completely different cloth, and neither seemed willing to bend. Others believed the friction was a holdover from earlier disagreements, though they had worked together before on The Dirty Dozen. The dynamic on Emperor of the North was different. The characters were locked in a violent power struggle, and that energy seemed to bleed off the screen. Some insiders claim Marvin resented the way Borgnine dominated certain scenes, while Borgnine, in turn, felt Marvin was trying to undercut him with erratic behavior and backhanded comments. Then there were the physical scenes, intense, brutal fight sequences that tested both actors' endurance. One particular scene, a long and dangerous brawl atop a moving train, became the stuff of legend. Neither man wanted a stunt double. Each insisted on doing the work himself. It was a clash of pride, grit, and old-school masculinity. The result? One of the most memorable fight scenes in cinema, and, allegedly, a behind-the-scenes relationship that never recovered. Whether the feud began during Emperor of the North or simply reignited there, this production seemed to solidify their mutual disdain. While neither actor ever publicly detailed the conflict, those who worked on the film say the animosity was real, lingering well after filming wrapped. But this was far from the end of the story. If anything, it was just a moment everything boiled over, and what came after would only deepen the divide. After that explosive clash on Emperor of the North set, something shifted irreparably between Ernest Borgnine and Lee Marvin. What started as a heated argument didn't fade into a forgotten incident like most on-set spats. Instead, it hardened into a cold silence that stretched across decades. It wasn't just professional rivalry anymore. It became personal, a wound neither man wanted to acknowledge publicly, but one that lingered under the surface. For years after filming, Borgnine and Marvin reportedly avoided each other at industry events, premieres, and award shows. They moved in similar circles, often crossing paths, but the atmosphere between them was icy. It was as if an invisible barrier had been erected, preventing any chance of friendship or even a civil conversation. Those who witnessed these encounters described a palpable tension, a quiet but unmistakable hostility. Borgnine rarely spoke about the feud openly. When asked about Marvin in interviews, he was careful, often giving vague answers or simply changing the subject. But on rare occasions, he dropped hints, words laced with frustration or disappointment, that suggested the grudge ran deeper than a typical Hollywood falling out. It wasn't just about ego. It was about a breach of respect Borgnine couldn't forgive. Lee Marvin, known for his own tough exterior, seemed equally unwilling to bridge the gap. Neither side made public attempt to reconcile, and rumors swirled that both men had taken the Cold War very seriously. This silence fed the mystery and intrigue among fans and insiders alike. Why did two professional actors, who shared a successful film, let things escalate into years of bitterness? The truth might be tied to pride, personal values, and the unforgiving nature of the entertainment industry. Borgnine was known for standing his ground. When he felt disrespected, he didn't easily let it go. And Marvin was no stranger to confrontation himself. In a world where reputation can make or break a career, a grudge like this could be as much about self-preservation as personal offense. Over time, this unspoken feud became a part of Borgnine's story, a cautionary tale about how even legendary actors can have dark chapters hidden beneath their public personas. For fans, it added a layer of complexity to the image of the warm, approachable star. It reminded everyone that fame doesn't erase human flaws or grudges. Interestingly, some Hollywood insiders suggest the feud also color how Borgnine approached future collaborations. He became more cautious, wary of trusting certain colleagues, and perhaps more guarded in his interactions. The bitterness lingered, subtly influencing his career choices and the way he navigated the industry. But despite the cold silence with Marvin, Borgnine maintained a generally positive relationship with many other peers. He was still considered a beloved figure, known for mentoring younger actors and offering kindness on set. This contrast makes the grudge stand out even more. Proof that sometimes one relationship can define a part of a person's legacy. Coming up next, we'll dive into the swirling rumors and speculations that have surrounded this feud over the years. What have fans and insiders guessed about the real reasons behind the fallout? And how have new stories emerged, keeping this decades-old tension alive in the public imagination? Stay tuned, because the mystery deepens. The grudge between Ernest Borgnine and Lee Marvin didn't just fade into silence. It sparked decades of rumors, whispers, and wild speculations that Hollywood fans couldn't get enough of. Over the years, the mystery surrounding what really caused such a bitter fallout has grown almost as famous as the actors themselves. And with every new interview or passing decade, fresh theories have surfaced, making the story richer, more complicated, and endlessly fascinating. Some say the root of the feud wasn't just a heated argument on set, but a deeper clash of egos. Both Borgnine and Marvin were known for their strong personalities and fierce pride. It's been suggested that what started as professional rivalry spiraled into something personal, maybe an insult or slight that went too far to be forgiven. But what exactly triggered it? That's where the stories start to diverge. One popular theory revolves around jealousy. Borgnine was already an Oscar winner and established star when The Killers was filmed, while Marvin's career was still rising. Some insiders believe Marvin felt overshadowed and threatened by Borgnine's status, and that tension fueled their animosity. Others argue the opposite, that Borgnine felt Marvin was trying to upstage him and resented the challenge. Then there are rumors about off-camera behavior. A few stories hint at backstage incidents, private insults, clashes over scripts, or even disputes involving other cast members that drag Borgnine and Marvin into the same storm. None of these stories have been officially confirmed, but they've kept fans guessing for decades. Adding to the intrigue, both actors were notoriously tight-lipped about the details. Borgnine's interviews rarely touched on the feud, and Marvin stayed silent as well, fueling speculation. In recent years, some old Hollywood insiders and biographers have tried to piece together what really happened, but the truth remains elusive, wrapped in layers of Hollywood discretion, pride, and personal bitterness. Social media and fan forums have breathed new life into the story. Online communities debate every hint, every subtle mention in interviews, and every cold glance captured in old photos. Some fans believe there was a betrayal of trust or a broken promise behind the scenes. Others think it was simply a clash of temperaments doomed from the start. What's striking is how this decades-old grudge still captures imaginations. It's not just a story about two actors. It's a window into the pressures and complexities of Hollywood stardom. It shows how professional relationships can quickly turn personal, and how old wounds can linger long after the cameras stop rolling. And even though neither Borgnine nor Marvin ever publicly explained the feud, the ongoing speculation has helped keep their legacies intertwined in unexpected ways. It's as if this silent war became a shadow that followed both men, part of the Hollywood mythos surrounding their names. Coming next, we'll look at other conflicts in Borgnine's career. How did this feud compare to the other challenges he faced with co-stars and crew? Did Borgnine's legendary grudge stand alone, or was it part of pattern? Stay tuned. It's a story of a complex man navigating a complicated industry. While the feud with Lee Marvin is undoubtedly the most infamous clash in Ernest Borgnine's career, it wasn't the only time he found himself at odds with colleagues. Hollywood is a high-pressure environment where egos and creative visions collide, and Borgnine's no-nonsense personality sometimes led to other disputes, though none reached the same level of bitterness or longevity. Throughout his decades-long career, Borgnine worked with a wide range of actors, directors, and producers. Known for his dedication and professionalism, he earned respect but also wasn't afraid to speak his mind. This sometimes ruffled feathers, especially when he disagreed with creative choices or felt disrespected. But these conflicts were generally brief and more about work than personal grudges. For example, during the filming of The Wild Bunch 1969, there were reports of tension on set, not between Borgnine and another actor, but between the cast and director Sam Peckinpah. Borgnine reportedly clashed with Peckinpah over the brutal style of the film and its intense shooting schedule. However, unlike the Marvin feud, this conflict didn't turn personal. It was more about professional differences and the grueling nature of production. There were also occasional moments when Borgnine's straightforward style didn't sit well with co-stars used to more diplomatic approaches. Some actors found his blunt honesty intimidating or abrasive, but most respected his talent and commitment. In interviews, Borgnine himself admitted that he wasn't always the easiest person to work with, but he believed that honesty was essential in a demanding business. What made the feud with Marvin so unique was its persistence. Other disagreements were often resolved quickly or quietly faded away. Borgnine was known for bouncing back from conflicts and maintaining good working relationships with most of his peers. In fact, he was often praised for mentoring younger actors and being generous with advice. Still, the Marvin feud cast a long shadow. It seemed to tap into something deeper in Borgnine's personality, a mix of pride, wounded feelings, and perhaps a desire to be respected above all else. This wasn't just about a one-time argument. It became a defining aspect of his interactions and reputation. The contrast between Borgnine's general professionalism and the enduring bitterness toward Marvin highlights the complexity of his character. He could be warm, funny, and supportive, yet hold on to grudges when lines were crossed. This duality made him not just a compelling actor on screen, but a fascinating figure off it. Up next, we'll explore more about Borgnine's personality, the man behind the roles. What do his relationships and conflicts reveal about who he really was? And how did he balance the pressures of Hollywood with his personal values? Stick around to get a closer look at the man behind the legend. Ernest Borgnine was more than just the tough, gruff characters he often played on screen. Behind that weathered face and booming voice was a man shaped by his roots, values, and life experiences. Understanding Borgnine's personality helps explain why the feud with Lee Marvin cut so deep and why he held on to it for so long. Born in Connecticut to Italian immigrant parents, Borgnine grew up in a working-class family where respect, hard work, and loyalty weren't just ideals. They were survival skills. That background instilled in him a sense of pride and a straightforward, no-nonsense approach to life. He didn't suffer fools gladly and had little patience for pretense. To Borgnine, respect was earned, and once broken, it was nearly impossible to rebuild. This mentality carried over into his Hollywood career. While he was approachable and known for his humor and warmth, he also had clear boundaries. Borgnine valued honesty and integrity, both on and off the set. If he felt someone was disrespectful or disingenuous, he didn't hesitate to call them out, or, in some cases, hold a grudge. His legendary feud with Lee Marvin can be seen as an extension of these core values. Borgnine wasn't just upset about a single moment. He felt that the incident on the Killers represented a breach of fundamental respect. And for a man who prized loyalty and straightforwardness, that kind of betrayal was a serious wound. Despite his toughness, Borgnine had a softer side that many fans and colleagues admired. He was known for mentoring young actors, sharing stories from his long career, and offering support when others needed it. His charisma wasn't just a stage act. It came from genuine kindness and a desire to connect. But that kindness didn't come with weakness. Borgnine was a survivor who knew how to stand his ground. There's also a sense that Borgnine carried some loneliness beneath his public persona. The entertainment industry can be isolating, and long-standing grudges, like the one with Marvin, may have been partly fueled by the emotional challenges of a high-profile life. Some biographers suggest that the feud was less about anger and more about pain, an unresolved hurt that never found a proper outlet. In many ways, Borgnine's personality was a reflection of the era he came from. Tough but fair, proud but humble, ready to fight when necessary but willing to show compassion. This complexity is what made him such a compelling figure both on screen and off. Understanding this helps explain why the grudge with Marvin was so enduring. It wasn't just about two actors clashing. It was about a man who valued respect above all and struggled to reconcile when it was lost. Up next, we'll wrap things up by looking at the legacy of this feud. How did it shape Borgnine's life and career? And what can we learn from this hidden chapter of Hollywood history? Stay tuned for the surprising conclusion. The decades-long feud between Ernest Borgnine and Lee Marvin left an undeniable mark, not just on their personal lives, but on their legacies as Hollywood icons. While both men went on to have successful careers, that silent, bitter rift became part of the story fans and insiders couldn't ignore. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars carry shadows with them, and sometimes those shadows stretch far beyond the set. For Borgnine, the grudge was more than a moment of anger. It was a defining aspect of how he navigated relationships in the industry. It shaped his reputation as a man who demanded respect and didn't tolerate slights. While he was beloved for his warmth and talent, the feud revealed a stubborn, deeply human side, one that many fans might never have guessed just from his on-screen roles. Lee Marvin, too, carried that quiet animosity, and the fact that neither man publicly reconciled speaks volumes about the pride and pain involved. It's rare in Hollywood for a feud to remain so private yet so persistent, and it leaves us wondering about the cost of silence. How many bridges remain unbuilt because of wounded pride or misunderstood moments? The story also highlights a bigger truth about fame and rivalry. In an industry where success can breed jealousy and competition, even the strongest personalities are vulnerable. Borgnine's story shows us that behind every public persona is a complex individual shaped by their history, values, and the scars they carry. Looking back, the feud adds a fascinating layer to Borgnine's life story. It challenges the image of the eternally affable star and reveals a man who was fiercely protective of his dignity. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of unresolved conflict and a reminder that forgiveness, while difficult, can be powerful. Today, fans continue to speculate about what might have been if Borgnine and Marvin had found a way to reconcile. Would their careers have taken different turns? Would Hollywood have remembered their partnership differently? These questions linger, unanswered but compelling. In the end, the grudge between Borgnine and Marvin is more than just Hollywood gossip. It's a window into the fragile nature of human relationships, especially in a world as demanding and public as show business. And it reminds us that even legends have their battles, sometimes ones we never see. So, who was the co-star Borgnine never forgave? Lee Marvin, a man who, like Borgnine, was larger than life but carried wounds that never quite healed. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's untold secrets. See you in the next video.